In 3, 2, 1. You are listening to the Paracasual Destiny Podcast. Hello, and thank you for tuning in to episode 11 of the Paracasual Destiny Podcast. I'm Sooltime, and I'm joined by Salliebug. Salliebug, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
As well as Greenstego from the great state of Texas. Greenstego, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
I hear everybody. I just hope everybody listening or tuning into the live broadcast can hear us as well. That would be just dandy. To kick things off, Greenstego, let's start with you this week. What you been up to since our last chit-chat?
Oh, mostly working. I haven't had very much time to play video games. I check into Animal Crossing every now and then just to do a couple daily tasks, but no Destiny this week.
No Destiny. Salliebug, how about you?
Yeah, so, we're in this state, which is kind of like, again, this is like such a relief for these casual players who normally this would be such a hard time for us to be like having to deal with something, because wasn't this supposed to come out, like we're at the anniversary of when this was going to get released?
We're past that
originally.
Yeah.
Right, that was going to be on the 22nd.
Yeah.
And so we would be like scrambling to find time to be able to do like a mission or two and not be able to like really put ourselves 100% totally into it. So it's kind of like such a relief. It's a reminder that this anniversary coming out of when it was supposed to come out is a reminder of how nice it is that it's coming out on the 10th of November, after we've had the opportunity to kind of get settled into our jobs and figure out how to have a life outside of work and not be completely exhausted, like not going to bed at 8 o'clock every night. That would be my goal next week.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. I'm finding, just where video games were once sort of a way of unwinding and de-stressing, now I'm just too tired to pick up a controller at the end of the day. It's taxing, being in a mask all day and, being the sort of distance Nazi with these kids. And I get home and I think about wanting to play Destiny because that's my go-to.
De-stressor, right?
Sure. You have your choice of drug in this world, and video games satisfies that for me. And not having the energy or motivation at that point, just wanting to go, comatose and blotto. I'm in such a state. But I can say the weekends we're becoming the weekend warriors. Last weekend after we finished the podcast, I think we got on and did some stuff. And after reset, we did manage, Salliebug and I did manage to get on after reset and do the means to an end. But more importantly, we wanted to explore that really tastefully done, beautiful, short and sweet tribute to Matt Helsum from Vicarious Visions, who passed away. Almost a little bit of a tearjerker, because what you're reading something that Anna Bray's saying, and behind the fiction is nonfiction, and so that was great. I really wanted to do that, and we did accomplish that.
Yeah, so we were able to get the means to an end done. That actually goes pretty quick, and there's really no reason to do it, right? because they have postponed that last piece of lore. Because really doing means to an end is supposed to be giving you that piece of lore to finish off that lore book. And they have postponed that last piece of lore for a future date that I don't know when it is.
Mentioned?
I don't think they.
You heard
I don't
anything?
think they've. I don't think they've announced it. They've said that it's going to be delayed, but they haven't announced.
Okay. All right.
Specifically when it's going to be. So we don't even really need to do means to an end, but it just feels so ritualistic. It's like, well, if we don't do anything else, at least we could do like the 45 minutes it takes to get that done.
Right.
Yeah.
And while doing that, you know, I mean, even if I'm only on once or twice, which was the case, I think I only logged in, well, twice technically, because I did get on with our granddaughter again.
Oh, and I did as well this past week, so that was cool.
But you know, every time I get on, my ritual is to go down to the tower and pick up gunsmith bounties so that I know I at least am going to get 3 cores out of it. And so one of the cores, one
Spider's
of them
a lot quicker.
Oh, it's 3 or 4. I think you get 4 because it's 3 different guns and then usually an elemental one.
Yeah, you get 4 cores from Banshee. You get 4 cores from Spider per reset too, which is.
So one of the guns was, and I haven't gotten into the ritual of going down to Spider, and that is the easier way to go. But anyway, I went to the tower, and I remember that one of them was a trace rifle, and the element was solar. So, I said, okay, I'm pulling out my Prometheus lens. And turns out I started shooting enemies with the Prometheus lens, which, by the way, is a super fun gun. And I completely forgot how fun that gun is.
That was fun, yeah.
And in addition to that, after killing a couple of enemies, I noticed I was dropping orbs, and I'm like, holy crap, I have the catalyst that I'm working on with this one so I don't think I finished the catalyst for it, but I certainly made progress towards it. So that was kind of cool. It was like 2 birds, 1 stone type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was fun though. There's so many of these. Like we talk about, the glut of weapons in this game is overwhelming for a casual player to try to decode the ever-changing sandbox of perks and mods and weapons. Yeah, that was fun pulling out the Prometheus lens and just blasting away with it. And it was like, hey, this is kind of melting things in Escalation Protocol. Forgot about this thing.
There is a note in the chat that Prometheus lens is so much better with the catalyst.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, is it?
The thing is, that brings up a good point. You get the catalyst for a gun, and then, I put the catalyst in, but then there's no, reason to use it because I'm moving on to the next catalyst that I try to get. So I really haven't had that cycle where I'm using, with the exception of maybe Izanagi's Burden, I haven't really taken advantage of the catalysts that I have gotten, and that is definitely one of them. I think you're right. I think it is so much better with the catalyst.
Oh, do you
and
have the
that's what
catalyst
we were
done?
experiencing. Oh yeah, I got the catalyst for that.
I don't think I finished the catalyst. I'm
pretty sure I did.
I put a dent in, probably a pretty big dent. I think I got to 80%, which is pretty cool.
Well, we got about another 60 minutes here with the podcast. Then you can hop on and finish that.
Outside of all the household chores that I've also been ignoring due to being so exhausted.
It can feel like there's never any time to de-stress.
Yeah, it's definitely that work-life balance has definitely been tilted. the last couple of, and I was telling Stego prior to us actually going live that in addition to...
You guys actually talk outside of the podcast?
That's it. So I had a bit of a runny nose, just kind of like a mild cold that started this past weekend, and because I work with kids and just the way this pandemic is going, my work said you need to go get tested before coming back to work. And so I had that added stress. I had to drive all the way down to the hospital. It was like a half hour away to the testing site. And you had to get an order. Here's the funny thing. You have to get an order from your primary care physician, which was no problem. I just had to call and get them to do that. The day after I went through that whole rigmarole, they said, you no longer need an order from your primary care physician to get tested. It was like just those added, so I had that added piece of stress of just dealing with a cold and not being able, just a mild cold, but not being able to go into work.
Yeah, our good friend Huckleberry joined the chat here.
Huckleberry.
We'll call him Huckleberry. Definitely the individual who's probably responsible for us still playing Destiny, wouldn't you say, Salliebug?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, he's helped us through many a dungeon and raid and countless. We are forever indebted to him for those for that inspiration, and also all the help he's given us to continue playing and having fun in the world. We might note that I'm hoping someday we can get Richard to come on and talk some lore. He's probably out of all of us the most well versed in the Destiny lore, and it turns out we are starting a new segment this week, right? A little bit of
Speaking of lore, I did, and of course the pun not intended. The catalyst to us doing a lore segment this week was the trailer that came out this week. How many of you have watched that?
My hand is up. You can't see that through because we don't have webcams and it's a podcast, so you can't see my hand up. I did watch the trailer. Yes, quite good.
Yes, miss. I also watched the trailer.
Nice.
Yep, and those of you in the chat, I don't know if you. I'm just gonna assume because we all just love Destiny. But if you haven't, go check it out. And of course, that got me going down a rabbit hole of lore, and we'll talk. And we're going to talk about that a little later. So
yeah, we'll do that after we address This Week at Bungie, which this was a bomb. Holy cow! The This Week at Bungie. Before I gave up. I gave up trying to decode what the difference between the script and the mission and the physics servers were. You know, I'm like, what the? How does the networking model work again? And I went back to previous TWABs and something like 3 years ago that they talked about the hybrid peer-to-peer and client-based servers, and I just got really confused because I'm just not that tech savvy when it comes to client-based server versus peer-to-peer and the hybrids thereof. I got really confused, and I couldn't even tell whether there were changes that are coming or whether they were just rehashing how things work. But it sounds like there were some fundamental changes. But before we get to that discussion, I would like to, if we can, talk a little bit about the trailer you mentioned, Salliebug, and that we all saw. What was so great about that trailer? I'm going to play it now on the stream. I'm just letting it run here.
What have you
Just run in the
seen out
background?
there?
Yeah.
Well, the nice
beyond.
thing about it is
I'm going
that
to turn the volume down on it. It's Variks, of course, doing the sort of the voiceover.
So, it just
Oh, you know
is
what?
a little
I just
more,
thought of something. Richard was telling me
little
that
more
his
hype.
sparrow seemed really slow, and I'm looking at the sparrow in the trailer. Maybe they did change the sparrow speed. Look how slow this sparrow's going. Okay. All right, continue.
Could that sparrow be going slower because it's going through a snowstorm?
Let me just look one more time. It's after the
No,
Bungie
that
logo.
just looks like because those enemies were walking really slowly as well. I think they just have it in slow motion.
Yeah, I think now if I did the playback speed and took it down a notch, then we definitely get a slow sparrow. But now I'm toying with the reality of the situation here. There it is. Maybe it's just perspective. I think it's just perspective.
Look at that. But then you go to the next scene is the enemies walking. Some Vex are walking across the street.
Right.
See, that's very slow. I think that suggested that you get a feel for the environment, because look how slow they're walking here.
Yeah, I goofed. Let me go back to it. All right, there we go. Yeah, and let's slow it down a little bit too. Playback speed. Let's go down to just so it's showing. Oh God, what am I doing? Hello, have I had enough coffee?
You wouldn't know. Have.
I think I've had enough coffee. It doesn't save your playback speed settings. Now let's see if I can not screw this up. Yeah. So anyway, any other thoughts on this trailer? I mean, obviously it's a podcast. We can talk about the visuals of it. What was revealed? Was anything revealed, Salliebug? Stego, did you see anything new?
I saw mostly just reveals and more detail about the location, it seems.
You sound like an exo. your voice just got really robotic.
Got kind of funky there for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was gosh.
Slow sparrow. Faster, Guardians. Faster.
I feel like it was really just another little snippet of the environments that we're going to be incurring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And just having another look at those environments and the potential enemies that we're going to face.
Right.
And just adding more hype.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We in this house happen to watch the video breakdown of a popular streamer, and one of the things that he said, unfortunately, was he was excited about a lot of it, but his major takeaway was they showed us so much cool stuff. What's the rest of the cool stuff that they aren't showing us? And it seemed like if I was a developer at that point and heard that reaction, my heart would have sunk, because I thought that the trailer personally was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited to check out Europa and the Deepstone Crypt and this whole new location. And I thought that it was a very well done trailer, and it is sad to know that there are people who are always just going to say whenever there's like a release coming. Like,
I think what's happened now, and of course they did drop this TWAB that we're going to try to talk about a little more to give more information. So there's this balance of wanting to kind of like still have the hype train going and having that anticipation, but there's a lot of the players who aren't playing a lot because it's a bit of a lull for them, and they just want more and more information. They don't want to just see a 1 minute visual anymore. They want the nitty gritty information, of which they gave us, but it was so high. It was so high end tech talk. I mean, you look at those things. It does give a little bit of new stuff, like looking into that tube with the EXO and that other. It looked like a
Mhm.
Vex type.
It did look
person.
like there was both a Vex frame
And an
and an
EXO.
EXO frame in the same tube, and so
That was
sure whether
interesting.
those.
Yeah.
We noticed that, and we weren't sure if that was when that kind of like experiment took place. Were those experiments being conducted on the Vex by Clovis Bray? Like, is EXO technology based somewhat on the Vex? Were they studying
on like
Vex?
a captured Vex, or
Yeah.
are they
Is this
are they
new?
trying to see if they can take a Vex shell and put use a Vex shell to create a different kind of EXO? I don't know. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
So
Another
and we have no idea whether or not this is this just like something casually in the environment, or is it something we're going to actually find out about?
Yeah. Is it just? Yeah, exactly. It's so. I'm excited. I thought that it was a perfect amount of tantalizing detail, and I just couldn't imagine having the response, the reaction that this environment looks great, but I feel like this is more like the Tangled Shore that we're looking at, and they still have yet to reveal like a Dreaming City location, and that's going to be a bombshell drop later.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is I think it's a great amount that they're teasing. I think it's a great amount of transparency that they're having. I think that Bungie is doing a great job of playing enough stuff close to their chest because they still want to promote player discovery and player exploration, but still
I mean, it
keep
is
us
still
excited.
like 6 weeks away, right? You can't you can't let you. I like this little bit of trickle. It is, but these, especially these content creators, they're going to be insatiable. And it's like no matter what you drop, they're going to want more information until the day it actually gets released. So,
yeah.
But
not to
back
mention,
to the TWAB.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about this at all? We mentioned a little bit about the snowstorm.
100% chance of snow.
It's not going to be a perpetual snowstorm.
I think it's going to be mostly visual impairment is what my takeaway is from it.
They're going back to, and I'm not wrong, right? They did have changing weather. At least I remember there being rain on Venus at times.
Yeah, you could see droplets coming
and
on
I can't remember, was there rain in the Cosmodrome or sometimes like just light snow?
There wasn't there snow in the Cosmodrome for Rise of Iron?
Like almost like flurries?
Yes. I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rise of Iron introduced snow. I know that.
So I feel like we did have him at least, on a lesser scale, some weather changes, weather environmental changes.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a welcome addition. They also talk about the Game Pass.
Funny Bone says, is there going to be artificial snowmakers on Europa like at Ski Mountain? I'm pretty sure they're not going to even need artificial snowmakers from what I understand, but it's kind of cool that they are going to do that. They've added that back into your experience, like, because the changing weather does make you be a little more immersed in the environment's not going to be 100% identical every time you're on it,
Yeah.
just like the real world.
It seems to us that we think that it'll be the most similar to the public event the enemy is moving against each other.
Mm-hmm.
Or like a roving band of pikes is coming closer, something like that. It's like a new style of public event along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that we'll actually get an announcement that weather is changing?
I think so, for these kinds of snowstorms, because they're saying that it's going to affect gameplay in some way. And there was, I forget exactly where Fractious Heart showed this to me, but I saw that their original pass at the snowstorm event hampered your gameplay so much that the way that it made the gameplay dynamic was also unfun. Where it was like everything is slower and you can't see anything, and it's like, wow, yeah, this is a really bad snowstorm. It's not fun playing it right now. And so they edited it since then. But yeah, it'll be more than just environmental. It'll affect gameplay.
Yeah. That's the trailer again. I was just looking, I followed one of the links to the map of Europa, which they released that map, right?
Mm-hmm. They said
the Frozen
something
Frontier.
Somewhere about like a thermal scope that will help you
determine weather. Yeah.
And I wonder if that would even like what gun you choose or what scope you use might be related to what your what the weather is. That's kind of cool. I like that idea.
Wow. This looks huge. Europa looks really big to me. From this map that they released.
I'm thinking minimally the size of the Cosmodrome.
Mm-hmm. We'll see. We'll see on November 10th or 11th or whatever. So back to the TWAB, they mentioned that it's dropped on Destiny 2 has dropped on Game Pass.
Yes.
Which is interesting. And I think with Game Pass you actually get Beyond Light, but not the DLC. You'd have to still drop the $10 for the DLC. I'm sorry, the season pass. Mm-hmm. You get the DLC. Actually, you get the DLC, but you still have to buy the season pass. Is that right?
I think so.
For Game Pass owners.
We were talking
what's this
about
business about xCloud? Yeah, what's this business about xCloud in the chat here previously?
A recent development as of September 15th, they launched Project xCloud, which is the video game streaming service. So you can stream most of the games that are available on Game Pass to an Android device or a computer.
So if you have Game Pass, you have access to quite a bit of your Game Pass content on Android. Is that correct?
Is xCloud basically Stadia? Only better, hopefully?
It says it's similar.
Okay.
To Stadia.
Similar to Stadia.
It exited beta, and it's officially like a featured aspect of Game Pass as of September 15th.
And you have Game Pass, is that right, Stego?
I do, but I also still have an S6, and I don't have a controller that I am immediately aware of is compatible with my phone. So we haven't experimented with it right now. We've got older Xbox One controllers, modern Xbox One controllers. Like, I think if you got one like packaged with an Xbox One X or purchased one since then, then
Right.
it
So
should be
so
Bluetooth.
Ghost, he would probably be able to. And I do know that Funny Bone got an upgrade of a controller within the past year, so if he had Game Pass, he probably would be able to use it.
And Game Pass, if you're already paying for like Xbox Live Gold, around $10 a month, Game Pass is only like 15, and it includes Xbox Live Gold, so it's worth considering. And if you play the Microsoft Bing Rewards game, then that should cover most of the costs.
I mean, I guess the other question I have is, it doesn't, and Sooltime brought this up, it doesn't include the and if people who are listening to this out in the
La La Land
podcast universe that don't specifically know us at this point, do now know that we're all Xbox players. But the question I have is, it doesn't include the season pass, but Sooltime and I were talking about this. Is the season pass actually really worth it?
Oh,
and
yeah.
I would be interested to know whether or not anyone in the chat have an opinion about that.
I think it's a foregone conclusion. Most people have probably pre-ordered and are getting it anyway, and I'm sure we'll buy it. But it's Fractious Heart says definitely worth it. Do we know what you get with the battle with the
like what did
season
we
pass?
get? What did we get with this this particular season pass?
Well, you get more stuff because you're on the bottom track instead of the top track of the battle pass, right? So you get more stuff, and you get stuff sooner. But for a casual player, it's a very good question that Salliebug poses here. If you're not able to get in more than an hour a week, do you really need the battle pass, the $10 season pass?
I mean, it does actually give you access to some of the content that you might not have access to, or might not even be able to get.
Well, Fractious Heart says they give seasonal specific stories and missions, but do we know that? Do we know that? I think some of that's available to free players as well. It has been in the past.
I do not think that the Means to an End quest is available free to play. I think that you have to be a season pass holder to play.
Okay.
The Means to an End.
So that's
I
maybe,
do think you can still play the
fully understand.
Yeah, the Contact Public event you should be able to play free, but
free, yeah.
Excuse me, I didn't mute in time.
Yeah, because there's 3 tiers, right? There's free to play. There's the DLC. Is that a difference between free to play and the DLC? And then there's the Game Pass, or not the Game Pass, the Season Pass. Now we have another pass to define, and then the Season Pass. And so those are 3 tiers of playing. And you, of course, you don't get the Season Pass without the DLC. So you're not privilege. You just can't buy that standalone, or can you? I don't think you can. I'm not sure. Anyway, it's a good question, and I think we'll probably get a laundry list of what you get depending on which category, which tier you're in: free to play, DLC, and season pass. Right?
Yeah.
And then you can make a purchasing decision from there. The nice thing about the season pass is you can buy it anytime. So you can try out the DLC and see if you want that extra loot. Richard says he loves the loot. Who doesn't? And so, yeah. But I'm a little curious about xCloud. Having dipped my toe in Stadia during the time I couldn't play Destiny 2 due to the watercress error back then. I still didn't get the heir apparent because of that. But I tried getting on Stadia because it was free to play at that point on Stadia. You got to play everything free. And I couldn't get it to work on a Chromebook, couldn't get it to work on a tablet. I could not get it to work on the PC. We got it to work on a different Chromebook, didn't we, Salliebug? The older Chromebook actually played it pretty well. It was really weird. So I think there's something in the software that it was very picky about which processor it was dealing with. It was very processor picky at that time, and that was back, previous season. So I'd be curious to see how the xCloud thing works out, if anybody gets experience with that. Salliebug says in chat she's briefly AFK. I don't know what's going on there. I hope she's
I'm
not.
back.
Oh, okay.
Quick bathroom break.
Respiratory illness?
Am I?
No.
Okay. Story missions are the biggest sell. IMO. I don't know if we're getting story missions anymore. Well,
Of course we're getting story missions.
replayable ones are up in the air though, because they kind of.
Oh
seems
yeah,
like-
we're not quite sure. I don't know how they're going to drive that content anymore. Like, how is that going to necessarily be accessible outside of doing it the first time? Because sometimes it's nice to go through it. Like, I tend to get on an alt character and do them, just if you like want to experience it again. I guess that's what you could do.
Next in
Right?
next in the TWAB though is the ye old Banner of Iron. They mention the fact that there's been the release of Beyond Light has been pushed back. There's an extension, so they're doing things like double Ordeal Nightfall loot, which we didn't take advantage of. Just didn't have it in us.
Actually.
Oh, you did?
No, we didn't.
No. I don't.
You tried though, didn't you?
We tried prior to that loot being in. I don't think we actually
No,
ended up getting on
we
at
never
all.
got
while
on.
It just didn't.
It didn't happen.
Work
And
out in our schedule.
this week is Triple Infamy with the Drifter. I haven't decided whether I'm going to take advantage of that or not, because I do want to I at least want to get the lore that's in the Reckoning activities. There's lore that you can only get in the tier 2 or tier 3. And I haven't checked if it's the right boss for one of them. I think it has to be a certain boss, like the Hermit or something, for the piece that I need. And then next week, it's Triple Valor with Lord Saladin, and the Iron Banner returns, which I can say I have zero interest in,
I'll pass.
in that. I will take a pass on that after my experience previously with Iron Banner. It's just Crucible in general for me is not fun when it's over 50% called games. It's just a blowout. It's probably ultimately, if I played enough, it would probably come out to, I'm thinking 50-50 who gets the MLG guy, which team gets the MLG guy. And so
but either one, you're almost always going to get paired with someone who is just wrecking, whether he's on your team or not, and leaves very little for.
I wouldn't say always, but
definitely
the probability is in favor of that. I would say personally, in my
I'm
experience.
just going to say the state of the Crucible right now. There's a smaller pool of players actually still playing the game right now.
People like us are just leaving. Yeah, that's true.
Right. I think people like us are leaving, but I also think there's also other people who are just not playing that much because they're just waiting for Beyond Light to come out, so they're exploring other games, and that's okay too. But it makes the population smaller, so it makes those differences in skill levels even more exaggerated.
Now,
At least that's what I think.
Bungie announced that they're bringing, or have they already implemented a freestyle match?
It's coming with
matchmaking.
Beyond Light.
It's coming with Beyond Light. That'll be.
And I'm actually not even
with.
sure it's coming on day of launch. Well, obviously because Iron Banner won't come out the first week, but I don't know if it'll come out with that first Iron Banner. They just said it is in.
It's in the works.
It's in the works.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's going to have to be more regular, because the fact that that's where you still have skill-based matchmaking is going to be where I think more players are going to end up gravitating to, which is going to be a shame because I like playing together as a clan, but I think if you're just going in solo or even just a couple people, you'll have better luck.
True.
Queuing up independently in that freestyle playlist.
Is it? What's it called? Freestyle or freelance?
Freelance.
I actually had. I think Fractious Heart mentioned she had a good experience in freelance, and I remember having a pretty decent experience in freelance, but it was a while ago. I forget whether it was pre or post getting rid of skill-based matchmaking. I can't remember.
It was post. Yeah, I recall.
Anyway, I mean, we've discussed it somewhat before, and it's an entire episode worth of discussion, and it's a big debate, and there's all sorts of viewpoints on it, and there's plus or minuses on both sides, pros and cons. But I really like what Cool Guy's promoting, the idea of a hybrid system between connection-based and skill-based, and maybe just a tier to protect low-skilled players.
And new players.
New and lower-skilled players. There's no reason they should be in with people who are from a Code Red MLG tournament. There's no reason for that. It's just because what happens is those low-skilled players just get turned off to it, and there goes your player base. And so you want to maintain a healthy player base, and you want a road to improving. I mean, there's a reason they don't send single A short season guys up to the major leagues after a year. They have to develop them. So you want to develop those new players, the lower skilled players, give them time to improve. And Salliebug and I were talking about us, we're in our 50s. I feel like we've reached, with the amount of time we have to dedicate to playing and learning and practicing, we've kind of we've reached a skill ceiling. There's a skill ceiling for people like us. It's about 1.0 in most PvP modes, and probably slightly lower in some others. 0.7 to 1.0, and that's it. That's where we are. We enjoy it when we're with other 1.0ers, and we have a really bad time when we're in there with the 3 to 7, the Elo farmers, and getting pub stomped. It's
right.
It's not fun.
I think that it's. And I kind of brought this up before in other conversations, either on the podcast or with you specifically, Sooltime. But the problem is that a lot of the higher skilled players say sometimes they just want to go in and casually play and not feel like every match is like this super sweaty match where they want to just kind of chill with their friends and kind of talk with their friends while they're playing because they enjoy the game mode. And the problem is that and the perspective is that sometimes we want to do the same thing. We want to play the game. We don't mind it. We're just not that high skilled, so that when we get into a match without skill-based matchmaking, we don't have that same kind of low-key casual experience, because either we're getting killed all the time, or the player on our team is getting all the kills, so there's
it's either kill or carry.
Nothing to do. Yeah.
Now, this like low stakes gameplay that these streamers are after.
Breaking my controller is cool, but not fun.
Oh, so Stego, you are on our page.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Go ahead.
I wonder, like, what the best way to actually implement that is, because right now the way that happens is you mix the sweaty players with the gen pop, and they're able to relax and just go on a tear, and for them not even trying that hard, they can just mow down casual players who aren't that experienced.
Easy montages, right?
Yeah. And I think that the frustrating part is just mostly like getting sniped or getting like shotgunned, getting one shot killed. And I wonder if maybe there is an opportunity for a casual playlist that doesn't allow special weapons.
Ooh.
And maybe doesn't even allow like abilities, and maybe is mostly just like primary focused, and maybe that would be a way to add a dynamic element to the Crucible that is inherently more casual, because you're never going to go around a corner and get sniped right away, because it's just not an option. It's not available.
I like what I'm hearing.
That's just theory.
I'm intrigued.
And unless somebody from Bungie's listening right now.
I mean, that's
which
part
they aren't.
of it, but it's just like, because I've watched, there's content creators that are super great at the Crucible that I watch, and I like their personalities, and I like watching them, and then they'll be doing exactly what we're talking about. They'll just be playing a game, chatting with their chat, having a super fun time,
checking their phone,
and then at the end of the match, they'll go, "Oh, that was fun," and then they show up the splash screen, and they got like 43 kills. It's like, well, yeah, that was fun for you, but what about like the other, like the bottom 6 players who got like 3 kills because they didn't have the skill level to keep up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, I want there to be I want there to be a happy medium, because I don't want those players to end up having to have every match being super sweaty and all of that, but I'd kind of like to be able to keep dipping my toe into Crucible and have that option, but I don't feel
it's not that important to me, honestly.
A little bit in the competitive. I don't mind, but again, I really like Control, but that's not an option in
freelance competitive.
In the competitive.
Fractious Heart brings up that there should be a way to go in and get rewarded for dedicating their life to the game. Yeah, it's not just their life, it's their livelihood. For streamers who play 60, 70 hours of Destiny a week, and
right, it's their job.
Or competitively, and there's a difference between, and I think trials was the answer that Bungie came up with to try to reward that. But they're looking for a way to get the easy montage, to get the easy stream without sweating, so that they can interact with their chat. And I get that. And but unfortunately, if you just take away skill-based matchmaking altogether, you get a situation where that's not sustainable. Because what happens is people get tired of being pub stomped. by these, and there's the whole other element that Bungie's trying to struggle with, and that is the account carry business and account recovery business and cheating in the PC world, especially that is all monetized. Those things are all, there's monetary rewards in those. That sort of mechanic, and so it's a lot for the developer to think about and to try to come up with a compromise. It's difficult. I appreciate that, and I think I don't really give a crap myself. I could enjoy Destiny without any PvP, but I'm interested in a healthy PvP for the game, just for the overall health of the game, because I realized Trials carried D1 pulled it out of the gutter and really made it a AAA title. I think we owe a lot to D1 Trials for where we are now, actually.
Absolutely. It really made the game what it was.
I want a healthy PvP game, and I want a healthy Gambit, or Gambit in as much as it symbolizes a hybrid PvP PvE game where you're cooperatively working with people and then you're fighting against players in the game as well. So yeah, moving right along, and I think I'm going to, full disclosure, I tried reading through this tech talk, and I even went as far as to go to the links in here where they talk about the physics host and mission host split, where you can go to the interview with Matt Seger, or however his name is pronounced, and you go there, and there's even a link back to a 2017 presentation that Bungie made describing their hybrid system of client-based server and peer-to-peer server. They call it the activity server model, and I tried understanding that the best I could, and when I got back here, I just got more confused. And I don't know, has anybody else read this whole tech talk section, talking tech, what's going on, at least with the networking part of it?
I've read it, and I want to say I understood maybe 15% of it.
Yeah, I can understand the other reasons for doing what they're doing, and the Destiny Content Vault and streamlining the size and things of that nature, which has already been talked about in previous TWABs and so forth. But, Stego, do you know what's going on? Are there significant changes coming to kind of what we've been talking about? This, because one of the arguments for connection-based matchmaking is we've got this system where there's not really dedicated servers. There's a quasi-dedicated server. I felt like at times that they're moving more towards a dedicated server by putting more things in the cloud or more things on their data servers. But that is related to what we've been talking about, in that an argument for connection-based matchmaking is less lag, right? Less lag, because that is a problem.
The mission... Something about I don't know. Now I'm a little...
See, you're already confusing yourself again.
Yes.
We shifted our mission scripting model to run on the physics host instead of the mission host. Now, how many people who love to go into Reddit and bash this game or reply to an Instagram post by Bungie with hate understand what that means? They have no clue, I'm sure. Very, very few people are going to really know what's being talked about here unless you have a background in networking and understand how game networking works. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I could not decode it in the hour previous to this podcast.
That basically the way that the game is going to run more is say you, me, and Salliebug are playing together on a fire team. One of our Xboxes will be the host Xbox, and that's not necessarily whoever the fire team leader is.
Right.
And the base of like the instance that we're in and the location of all of the enemies in that location and what actions they're taking is stored on one of our Xboxes, the physics host. So we could say that it would be say Salliebug's. And so Sooltime's and my experience would be based on our Xbox's ability to communicate with Salliebug's Xbox. And so it just seems like it's just kind of fine-tuning the way that lag happens in the game, and like drag suddenly blinking all over the place because it's cross-checking where that drag is in real time versus where it is that you're seeing it.
Right.
So it sounds like there's going to be a little bit of a change. So you know those times when you get into a public event where there's a lot of stuff going on, and there just happen to be at that public event, and then all of a sudden you start experiencing some pretty crazy lag and jumping about and so forth. So it sounds like there's going to be an improvement to that experience, that you're not going to have that as much.
They link to an interview, and they link to a Reddit AMA that obviously will go into much more detail for people who are curious. It may be that it goes into a lot more specific and technical information, and so I don't know whether it will, for people of our technical competency, whether those things will be more illuminating or more confusing, but
right.
They say there's also a warning: be prepared for some bugs to slip through while they're transitioning to these changes. We'll be monitoring and fixing them over time. And this is linked to the Prophecy Dungeon being unavailable at the start of the season. So interesting. One other cool new feature.
The question is, does all of these changes does it point more to an upgraded engine or even a new engine?
At best, upgraded, I would say. Some people are calling it an engine overhaul. That might be a little too far. I don't know if there's evidence for that yet, if it's a whole engine overhaul. And I think what's promoting that hypothesis is the fact that Beyond Light is being looked upon as the unspoken Destiny 3, which would suggest an engine overhaul, or a new engine even for that matter. And the other thing that's fueling the speculation is the fact that we're moving on to the next gen consoles, which coincidentally release at the same time that Beyond Light does. So I don't know.
Well, let's be honest. It's about time for a fundamental system overhaul. This game was originally built in tandem with the Taken King. They were building this when we were playing Destiny 1 Vanilla.
2015, right. 2016 they were working on it probably, right?
Yeah, that's like crazy that we're still playing the same game, and the things that they're putting away for the most part are those older locations and the activities and locations that they outsourced. And as a result, the game's shrinking, and the gameplay's just generally going to get tighter the longer they put things into the content vault and then reintroduce them. So I wouldn't be surprised
Well,
to see.
one of the things they did say that I did understand is because of the changes they're making, you do have to do a complete re-download of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a big enough change, even if it is just an overhaul of their engine, not a complete new engine. It's a big enough change that you kind of have to delete everything you have for Destiny right now and reload a whole new one. You don't have to rebuy it or anything, but you have to re-download it.
Right. So what do you think?
There's a message in the chat that these revisions are taking place instead of making Destiny 3. So rather than trying to rebuild the game entirely again, this is going to be the approach indefinitely. Continuing to play on Destiny 2 and continuing to make tweaks to the ending.
I mean, I guess I'm gonna just hold back judgment. I am okay with that decision as long as that decision is, they have a fundamental vision that they want to present. And if this is the way they want to go to present that vision of this evolving world, rather than kind of starting all over again, similar to like what we did with Destiny 2, I understand not really wanting to go that route because it's disruptive to what they've at least said in the past of what their overall vision for the game is. So that's where I stand.
I trust in Bungie.
Yep, in Bungie we trust.
I trust in Bungie. I just don't understand Bungie.
Yeah, we're not smart enough for them, but we trust them.
I'm not sure if we are still streaming or not because I think I've got a freeze on that page.
I mean, people can still hear us, right? Is everybody still there and can hear us? And maybe we could get some people in the chat
Discord is still working.
To say something.
I'm getting pages unresponsive on the live streaming page.
It says five are watching, but that could just be old, right?
Well, are you still getting the stream in there? Do you watch the stream?
It says the audio is live.
The audio is live.
Audio is live. I have I'm going to refresh it just to see. I am here, but I'm going to...
Okay, and I'll continue talking. Let's try to wrap up this TWAB business because we're coming up on the our new segment time here.
Yes.
Character face system.
And we need to get our we need to get our lore masters
relighting of
chat.
relighting of portions of EDZ and Nessus. And
these are all changes they're making,
yeah,
right?
So along with I'm most interested in what I don't understand, which is the the network model. They're shifting towards more data server on their end, which means it's going to be. I mean, they want one of the reasons that my understanding of doing the hybrid peer-to-peer and client-based or dedicated server, the hybrid model was so that they could maintain worldwide connectivity. In other words, you would be able to play with people in Australia, or if U.S. people would be able to play with UK people, which is kind of important for our clan. That we can still play together. I think if we had dedicated servers, that might not be the case, is my understanding. If we had totally dedicated servers. So we've got a hybrid between dedicated servers, what they call the data servers, And they call this hybrid model the activity model. I'd like to understand that more. I'll continue studying it. And maybe there's some interviews and things. I know I did look at a presentation that was given in 2017 to, I think probably to shareholders, to show this novel new way of doing multiplayer video games. But anyway, let's. I think we're just about. It's just about time for us to do the new segment. What do you think, Salliebug? And
I think so
Greenstego,
too.
are you still there?
The other changes that are happening that they kind of talked about in the TWAB, people can read on their own.
Actually,
details about how the face editing and character customization.
They're working on character customization. There's a quality of life thing where you can join someone in the tower. I actually had mentioned to Sooltime that I wondered if that would be almost like a step towards in-game LFG. Because if you can join someone in tower without reloading that game, do you understand what I'm saying? I felt like that's what that meant, right? So, say Funny Bone is in the tower, and I walk up to him, and I see that he's at certain level, or he has a certain title, or as how our clan kind of got started and expanded anyway, was I got approached on the tower and then got sent a message outside of the game, will you come do this raid with us?
Through Xbox messaging, right? Yeah.
Right. But what it sounds like what they're saying is someone could go up to you, you could get I don't know if you could still chat with them in game. I thought, well, there is in game chat, but
is there?
If that happened
on PC,
if that same thing happened with this new change, then I'd say yes, then I could just join their fire team, and I wouldn't have to like reload back up into orbit or anything. I could just join them. And that's what my understanding is that you can join in social spaces.
Yeah, I think you have two hurdles here. One is the
non-combative.
Sorry.
And I feel like that is a step towards in-game LFG.
Did you say non-combative?
Yeah, I said social spaces, yeah.
But you said non-combative.
Social spaces, yes.
Okay.
I'd say they're synonyms.
Well, I'm just thinking you wouldn't be able to do this like in patrol areas.
Correct.
Right. And a patrol space is not a social space.
Right. Okay. I see two hurdles. One is the technical hurdle, which we're talking about, that they seem to be going in a direction to make that technically possible. But the other hurdle they have is the cultural one, to change player behavior, to communicate more with strangers in the game and make friends that way. So how do you do
I would imagine you could either turn that on or off, right? They still have that option.
Well, right now everybody will turn it off because that's what everybody does. When's the last time you spoke to somebody in a Strike or a Crucible game, right?
Yeah, but if they had something similar to, I don't know, maybe this in-game LFG, I would love to see this be a step towards in-game LFG. Because right now, what difference does it make?
I'm gonna go put on John Lennon's Imagine. So I think it's time for our final segment, which is a new installment we are going to try out here. And are you guys ready?
Ready?
Salliebug, are you ready?
I'm ready. Ready as I'm gonna be.
Paracasual Destiny Podcast presents A Touch of Grimoire with your host, Salliebug 2. Salliebug, what are you going to talk about this week?
Well, in being that this new trailer came out and we had someone from Destiny 1 make an appearance and talk to us, and that would be Variks. So I did a little digging on Variks and his past, and thought maybe we could talk a little bit about that and what possible role he might have in us fighting Aramis. Is he going to be on our side? Is he going to be on their side? Is he under her control right now, or his? I don't even know if Aramis is. It sounds like Aramis is a female. Not sure of the gender. At any rate, that's my thought here. So I did a little digging on. So for those of you who don't know, and obviously you're all fans of Destiny, so you probably do, but Variks made an appearance to us in House of Wolves, right? Is that where we met him?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's right.
And he had quite a bit of history, but to keep this relatively short, I think there were factions of his race that were fighting for power that he didn't really buy into, so to speak. And so he sought out Marasov to, I think he kind of went on, because they were fighting the Awoken. His race were fighting the Awoken.
Mm-hmm.
And he was not on board with what the factions or the houses
Skolas
were
in
doing.
particular,
I guess that's
right?
what they were called.
He didn't like Skolas.
It seemed like it was more of a power-driven thing than it was like a preservation of our race thing. And so he decided, Skolas is the one who cut off his arm.
Yeah, he docked his upper arms.
So,
So he gravitated towards the queen, right?
So he was on the queen's side, and of course the queen, they were able to capture Skolas, and then they were also able to capture all of these Scorn barons that were kind of hybrid versions of the Elixni or the Fallen,
Mm-hmm.
using dark ether. Is that correct? Right?
The dark
Kat,
ether.
help me out here a little bit.
The dark ether.
Dark ether.
The Scorn.
Yeah, that's right. The Scorn were the dark ether.
Were born out of the Fallen and dark ether. So you have these Scorn barons, and they also got captured with the help of the Awoken. And so you had the Prison of Elders, and then it seems like he had a bit of an epiphany, an identity epiphany, that our race is in danger, and instead of searching for the Kell of Kells, I think he decided that potentially he was the Kell of Kells.
Yes.
Or at least he was going to be the Kell of House Judgment. Is that correct? Again, where are my lore masters? They need to help me out a little bit.
The House of Judgment.
in
Yes.
chat. And so he had this epiphany that it's like we need to. I need to do something. And what he decided to do was he handed over the keys to the Prison of Elder to this rogue servitor, and and took off.
And never to be seen again.
Just left.
Yes.
Until...
With the results being a complete jailbreak of the Prison of Elders, and that's Forsaken. That was the Forsaken storyline.
He gave the key to a servitor,
in a nutshell.
huh?
Yeah. He gave the keys to this servitor.
How did that benefit him?
I think that servitor is the one who talks to us in that one strike where we hear his voice. And remember the
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
The
Tanix
drifters that, and they say,
Oh,
is
that's
that,
right.
Is that Variks? And they say, nah, that guy's the guy's a jokester, but he just picked up on Variks's voice, that servitor.
Yeah.
That is who is. Is that the servitor that we actually fight technically in that strike?
Yes, and it is also, I believe, the same servitor that we see while we do Prison of Elders events in Destiny 1, when the door opens and there's this servitor glowing eye that's kind of blocking the way, and then it moves down the tunnel. Should be the same servitor. Prison warden.
That prison warden. So that's who he handed the keys over to. So it was a bit of an identity epiphany from my gathering of lore.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we just all basically, some people are a little bitter and feel like he needs some consequences because we would not have lost our beloved Cade 6 had he not left the Prison of Elders to this rogue servitor who then let everybody out.
That's a stretch.
But then he's chatting to us. I think he knew what was going to happen. We can't say he didn't know what was going to happen.
Well, he is the Kell of Kells.
Yeah, Fractious Heart or Ghost. Are you there? Or what do you think? Do you think he knew what was going to happen when he handed over the keys to the jail? Because I think he did. The Prison of Elders, rather. I think he knew what was going to happen. He knew the consequences of his action.
Say that again, Stego.
That the Scorn would break free.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think he knew that was going to happen.
It could be,
but I don't know why. So there is something calling him to. There was something calling him, like I don't know. Did he go directly to Europa, or was he just out searching and then landed in Europa?
There is a specific lore entry which I don't know if it has officially released or if it has been data mined that refers to different targets. Like it's a Vanguard reconnaissance report that refers to different targets by their number, and so Variks has a specific identity number, and Aramis has a specific identity number, and it refers to a report where it is seen that they are traveling together in some capacity, although it is unknown at present whether Variks is being held against his will or whether he is serving some ulterior motive. But we do know about Variks for sure is he does serve House Judgment, and he's the only one left in House Judgment, and he longs for the rise of the Elixni people again. It is sad, and my heart goes out to him and all of the Elixni to see them fallen so far. That's why we called them the Fallen.
I gotta say, I still have this little inkling in the back of my head, and I don't know if this is actually going to be approached at all in the Beyond Light expansion, or at least within one of these expansions over the next 3 years, of is the Traveler 100% good? Because it just has never set that whole lore story of the Elixni and the Fallen, in that they had what we have through the power of the Traveler, and the Traveler abandoned them. Now, he or she, or the power of the Traveler might have had to do that because he was being pursued, or it was being pursued by the darkness, and needed to get out of there for his own or their own self-preservation, but and had to kind of leave the Fallen behind. But it's still just that, like, it's a little bit disheartening, right? It's a little bit disheartening that that he ended up abandoning that, right? So you feel bad. And when they're fighting you, they're fighting for their own self-preservation as well. There was some great grimoire back in Destiny 1, a story of a guardian who was originally fighting alongside a Fallen. Like, they ended up like fighting together against Vex. It was very powerful. It's a pretty powerful story, so I'm excited for that to kind of be brought up again. Gosh, wouldn't it be amazing if the Elixni just end up being on our side? Right, that we just,
Well, I was just looking through the
part of our culture,
the wiki page for Variks, and he has proclaimed himself as the prophesized Kell of Kells. This is quoting from the wiki page, the fandom, who is supposedly destined to be chosen by the Great Machine and to reunite the Elixni under their banner. The Great Machine, I believe, refers to the Traveler. Is that right?
That's
yes.
absolutely
yes,
correct.
It does.
So he has not given up on the Traveler if he's calling himself Kell of Kells, because that's the Elixni prophecy is for the Traveler to proclaim or to choose the Kell of Kells, which goes back to what you were saying, the origins of the Traveler. The Traveler did some time with the Elixni on their planet before coming to Earth, and that's why the Elixni are in our solar system, right? They followed him here.
They were chasing after him.
Yeah.
So
reminds me of that scene in Life of Brian where the crowd's just chasing him to worship him, and he doesn't want to be worshipped.
Right.
Follow the gourd. Follow the Traveler.
So yeah, we're not. We know he's going to play a role. It's going to be interesting what's going to happen with it. And with Variks here. But I'm glad we're going to be exploring that, and we know that Aramis is going to be a foe. I think that's been pretty clear. So, we've got Aramis is Elixni, but is she? I mean, this has been the problem I think Fallen has had all along, right? Is that they can't get themselves together. Like,
well,
they keep fighting for power. They keep fighting.
Yeah, all these houses.
You had Skolas, who proclaimed himself Kell of Kells, and that didn't work out. Oh my God, the Skull Lost mission was so fun, so hard.
It really was.
But oh my gosh, I still say one of my most favorite Destiny memories of all time is spending all day with Funny Bone.
Yeah,
no doubt.
It was you, me, and Funny Bone.
Just trying over and over. The hard part about that is that you had to start. There were like 5 different levels, right? And you had to start back at level 1 if you were on level 5.
No checkpoints. No checkpoints for you.
No checkpoints. That was
a bear.
It was so hard, but it was so satisfying. I think we ended up like going out to eat
to
like
celebrate
at 10 o'clock at night just to say, oh,
we're having a party.
Got it.
It was great.
That was super fun. So I'm hoping to have a similar experience with this, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what's happening with Variks and Aramis and how they're related to each other. And yes, they're traveling together, but in what capacity? Are they in cahoots with each other, or are they did he go seeking so here, just throwing this out there, did he go seeking people to kind of like join him as the Kell of Kells, and Aramis is like, yeah, no, I'm really going to be the Kell, and so, yeah, you're my prisoner now.
I'm the Kell, and so is my wife.
So,
I am very interested to see how this pans out because, as you mentioned before, the societal instability that the Eliksni people have suffered as a result of the Traveler abandoning them, their great machine, and now they are just constantly desperate for ether because they rely on ether to survive. And so
right, that's their livelihood. Yep.
Every servitor that we destroy is cutting off
their life supply,
their lifeline, their support, and they're just desperate. They're desperate for life. They're just struggling, and Variks hopes to bring about the rise of the Eliksni by seeking redemption in the light of the Traveler, and Aramis, it seems like, is going another way.
The tension builds.
Seeking dark against the Travelers. Like, enough of following this Traveler who left us behind, abandoned us, like we're scraping for our own survival. Why are we still trying to follow that, the Great Machine, and try to get the Great Machine to give us recognition? We don't need the Great Machine. We can get our power from elsewhere. So, oh my gosh, now I'm hyped and excited again for where this is going. So
November 10th.
I think this is a good place to end.
Yeah,
I think so.
Any final words?
What do you guys think of our little bit of lore, delving into the lore? I really love their storylines. Their writers are just so good. These stories are so amazing, and they have so much depth.
Yeah.
And I think there's so much of it that your basic player doesn't even get to. So it's fun to talk about, for sure.
Oh yeah, I'd love to have just a straight read aloud of a lore segment or a lore chapter. Maybe we'll go through the maybe next week we could read aloud a Variks lore, maybe a D1 Grimoire card, or
I love
something
it.
more modern,
or whatever lore topic we choose for next week. I'll do some research. So
all right,
I'm excited.
Sounds good.
This has been great.
Yeah, it's been a good podcast this week, I think. Don't you think?
I think that's up to the viewers.
Well, speaking of viewers, we'd like to thank them for joining us. Thank you, Richard, for joining us this weekend. And shout out to Fractious Heart and Funny Bone for contributing as well. You can look for us on Twitter. We're at Paracasual and on YouTube channel here, where we broadcast live every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Still daylight time, isn't it? Please consider a like, subscribe, or comment on Twitter or YouTube. We'd love to hear from you and your friends. Until next week, so long, everybody. Bye.